Cheating wife's work trip to Cancun exposed. My brutal public revenge at her company Gala left her career and reputation in ashes. Throw away for obvious reasons. Guys, I'm writing this because I honestly don't know who else to talk to. My life just imploded, and I feel like I'm living in some twisted movie. This isn't going to be a short post, so buckle up. My wife, Sarah, fake name, obviously, and I have been together for 10 years, married for 7. We met in college, fell head over heels, all that romantic jazz. She was vivacious, charming, always the life of the party. I was the more reserved, steady one. We balanced each other out, or so I thought. We built a good life, a nice house, stable jobs, even talked about kids someday. I loved her with everything I had. Seriously, I thought she was my soulmate, my best friend, the person I'd grow old with. Looking back, the cracks probably started appearing about a year ago, maybe a bit more subtly than I registered at the time. Sarah started getting busy. Work trips became more frequent, girls' nights stretched later and later. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always face down, always muted. If I asked what she was doing, it was always just work stuff or chatting with the girls about Karen's latest drama. I brushed it off. I trusted her implicitly. Why wouldn't I? We never had major trust issues before. I figured she was just getting more invested in her career, or her friendships were evolving. I'd ask her about her day, and she'd give these vague, clipped answers, often ending with a sigh or a dismissive wave of her hand like I was bothering her. It stung a bit, but I just told myself she was stressed. We all get stressed, right? Then came the new phone. Her old one was perfectly fine, but suddenly she needed the latest model. And with it, a new level of secrecy. The screen time on her old phone used to show a healthy mix of social media, work apps, and general browsing. On the new one, it was all private browsing, apps with generic names, and a password she suddenly couldn't remember when I playfully tried to check something. Small things, individually, I could rationalize. Together, they painted a picture I was too naive, too deeply in love, to see. The real gut punch came out of nowhere, or at least it felt that way at the time. About a month ago, Sarah went on one of her work trips. 3 days in Chicago, she said, for a conference. Standard stuff. I waved her off at the airport, told her to have a good trip, missed her before she even left. That night, I was watching TV, and I realized I'd left my laptop at work. I needed to check something, so I went to grab Sarah's, which she usually left on her desk. Her laptop, of course, was password protected. But here's the kicker: years ago, when we first got together, we had this stupid, sappy thing where our passwords for non-work stuff were usually some variation of our anniversary date or a pet's name. I tried our anniversary date. Nothing. Then I tried our first pet's name, followed by a specific year. Still nothing. My heart started doing this weird fluttery thing, like a bird trapped in a cage. Then, on a whim, I tried her birthday. Not our anniversary, not our pet. Just her birthday. Bingo. It logged right in. A cold dread started creeping up my spine. Why would she change it to something so individual, when we'd always used shared passwords for our personal devices? I tried to push the thought away. Maybe she just forgot and reset it. Yeah, right. I went to the browser history, looking for the work site I needed. That's when I saw it. Under her most recent searches, prominently displayed, was flights to Cancun all-inclusive resorts. Followed by Cancun adult-only resorts. And then, an incognito search I couldn't trace, but the implication was clear. Chicago, she said. Chicago. My stomach dropped like a stone. I felt a wave of nausea so intense I almost threw up right there. Cancun. What the hell was going on? My mind was racing. Cancun. Not Chicago. All-inclusive. Adult only. It hit me like a physical blow. There was no work trip. This was a vacation. With someone else. The sheer audacity of it, the elaborate lie, the years of trust shattering into a million pieces. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. I checked her email, which was also linked to the laptop. And there it was, an entire thread from a travel agent, confirming bookings for 2, under names that weren't ours, but with her email address attached. The dates matched her Chicago trip. The resort name was plastered all over the emails, along with photos of pristine beaches and couples holding hands. And then, I found his name. Mark, in the subject line of a few emails, casual mentions like, Mark is excited about the snorkeling. Mark. Who the hell was Mark? I didn't know any Mark among her friends or colleagues. My breath hitched in my throat. I scrolled back further, desperate for an explanation, any explanation that wasn't what I knew it was. But there were no explanations, only more confirmations. Reservations for fancy restaurants in our city, dated weeks ago, always for 2. Tickets to a concert I knew she wanted to see, but claimed she couldn't get tickets for. All with Mark. It wasn't just a trip, it was a full-blown, ongoing affair, meticulously planned and hidden right under my nose. My vision blurred with tears of rage and disbelief. My beautiful, charming wife, the woman I shared my bed, my life, my dreams with, was a complete stranger. She wasn't just cheating, she was leading a double life. The betrayal felt so profound, so absolute, it was like a part of my soul had been ripped out. The physical pain in my chest was so intense, I thought I was having a heart attack. Every loving word, every shared laugh, every intimate moment we'd ever had was tainted, poisoned by this monstrous secret. I felt like a fool, an absolute, pathetic fool. I couldn't sleep that night, obviously. I just sat there in the dark, staring at her empty side of the bed, the laptop still open on the desk, its glowing screen a beacon of my shattered reality. The emotions were a kaleidoscope of agony, rage, sorrow, confusion, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of violation. I felt like I was drowning in it. How could she? How could my Sarah, the woman who promised me forever, do something so cruel, so utterly despicable? The next day, I called in sick. I couldn't face anyone. My mind was a whirlwind, replaying every interaction we'd had over the past year. Every girls' night, every work trip, every time she said she was tired or stressed and just wanted to watch TV alone. They all clicked into place, pieces of a horrifying puzzle I'd been too blind to see. The little lies, the evasions, the new phone, the password changes, they weren't just signs of stress, they were meticulously crafted pieces of a grand deception. I spent the entire day just existing. Moving through the house like a ghost, touching things, remembering moments, and feeling them all turn to ash in my hands. The picture of us on our wedding day, smiling, full of hope, felt like a cruel joke. I wanted to smash it, burn it, erase every trace of her from my life. But I couldn't move. I was paralyzed by the pain, by the sheer weight of this betrayal. I kept thinking, this can't be real. This has to be a nightmare. But the cold, hard evidence on her laptop was very real. And Mark was very real. And Cancun was very real. And hey, if you're finding this story gripping, do me a solid and subscribe to the channel and like the YouTube video. It would mean a lot right now. Seriously. Sarah called that evening, blissfully unaware, asking how my day was. Her voice was light, cheerful, dripping with the kind of fake sweetness that now made my stomach churn. Hey honey, just finished up a really productive day here at the conference. So much to learn, she chirped. My blood ran cold. The sheer audacity, the effortless lie, it was sickening. I mumbled something about being tired and hung up quickly, before my voice betrayed me. I knew I couldn't confront her over the phone. I needed to see her face, to watch her squirm. She arrived home late on Friday, beaming, smelling faintly of sunscreen and something else, a cheap, floral perfume she never wore. She hugged me, a quick, almost dismissive squeeze, and said, "Missed you, babe. Chicago was exhausting but so worth it." She launched into a detailed, fabricated story about her conference presentations, the networking dinners, and the freezing cold Chicago weather. My stomach was a knot of ice. I just nodded, trying to keep my face neutral, trying not to vomit. Later that night, after she'd showered and was getting ready for bed, I knew it was time. My heart was pounding like a drum solo. My hands were clammy. I walked into the bedroom, her back to me as she brushed her hair. "Sarah," I said, my voice sounding strangely hollow, even to my own ears. She turned, a quizzical look on her face. "Yeah, honey. Everything okay? You've been quiet since I got back." "No," I said, my voice growing stronger, a cold fire starting to burn in my gut. "Everything is not okay. Where were you really this week, Sarah?" Her eyes flickered, just for a second, a tiny tremor that only I would notice. "What are you talking about?" "I told you, Chicago, the conference. Are you feeling all right?" She tried to sound concerned, but it was already too late. I could see the lie forming in her eyes. I didn't let her finish. "No, Sarah. You weren't in Chicago. You were in Cancun. With Mark." Her face went from mild confusion to utter shock, then to a mask of indignation so quickly, it was almost impressive. "What? How dare you accuse me of such a thing? Are you out of your mind? I was working my butt off in Chicago, and you're sitting here making insane accusations." Her voice was rising, a performance already in full swing. She started to cry, real tears, but they didn't fool me. Not anymore. "Don't even try it, Sarah," I said, my voice low and steady, laced with a venom I didn't know I possessed. "I know everything. I saw the flight bookings, the hotel reservations, the emails. All for Cancun. All for you and Mark. You went to an all-inclusive, adult-only resort. Don't you dare insult my intelligence by pretending you were in Chicago." The tears stopped abruptly. Her face hardened, morphing into something cold and ugly. "Okay, fine." She snapped, throwing her hairbrush down onto the dresser with a clatter. "So I went to Cancun. So what? I needed a break. I needed to get away from you and your constant nitpicking and your boring life. You've become so stifling, so utterly predictable." The words were like daggers, twisted and plunged deep. The sheer audacity, the immediate deflection, the blame shifting, it was breathtakingly cruel. "And Mark?" I pushed, my voice barely a whisper now, thick with unshed tears. "Who is Mark?" She scoffed, rolling her eyes. "He's just a friend. Someone who actually understands me, who appreciates me. You haven't paid attention to me in months." She gestured wildly, as if I was the monster here. She was not only admitting it, but she was twisting it, making it my fault. The betrayal felt even deeper now, not just a physical act, but a complete obliteration of our shared history, our love. She was a stranger, an enemy in my own home. The confrontation spiraled from there. She became increasingly defensive, then aggressive, then just plain nasty. "You're so pathetic, always clinging to me," she yelled, her face contorted with disgust. "You think you're so great, but you're just a sad, little man who can't keep a woman happy." Every word was a blow, aimed straight at my deepest insecurities. She wasn't just admitting the affair, she was justifying it, celebrating it, using it as a weapon to tear me down. I stood there, numb, listening to her verbally dismantle me, our marriage, everything we supposedly built. She confessed to other flirtations, to feeling trapped with me for years, to only staying because it was comfortable. Comfortable. That's what I was to her. A comfortable prison. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, each beat a fresh throb of agony. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was a monster. Not just a cheater, but a cruel, manipulative monster. "You know what?" she sneered, pacing the room, her voice dripping with contempt. "Mark is a real man. He knows how to treat a woman. He buys me things, he takes me places, he makes me feel alive. Something you haven't done in years." She threw a designer handbag she'd bought for herself after a big project bonus onto the bed. Now I knew where that money went. It was a vicious, calculated attack, designed to inflict maximum pain. She wasn't remorseful, not even slightly. She was defiant, even proud. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, seeing her for the first time, truly seeing her. The love, the adoration I'd held for her, died right there, a cold, painful death. It wasn't just broken, it was obliterated. There was no going back from this. No fixing it. There was only a gaping wound where my heart used to be. The pain was so overwhelming, I felt like my body was going to collapse under the weight of it. I wanted to scream, to smash things, but I just stood there, a silent witness to the complete destruction of my life. By the way, if you're still reading, you're awesome. Seriously, go hit that subscribe button and give the YouTube video a like. It helps more than you know. The next few days were a blur of raw, unadulterated agony. I moved into the guest bedroom, unable to stand the thought of being in the same bed as her. She acted like I was the unreasonable one. She continued to act as if she was the victim, making sarcastic remarks about my overdramatic reaction and how I was ruining everything. She'd stomp around, slamming doors, muttering about how she couldn't believe I was making such a big deal out of a little vacation. A little vacation. I felt like I was losing my mind. The shock slowly gave way to an all-consuming rage, a burning inferno inside me. But beneath the rage was a profound sadness, a deep, aching grief for the future I thought we had, for the person I thought she was. I wept silently in the guest room, clutching a pillow, wishing I could just disappear. The betrayal had ripped a hole right through me, leaving me hollow and empty. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I could barely function. I called my best friend, Mike, and through choked sobs, told him everything. He was furious for me, offering to come over and have a chat with Sarah. I appreciated the sentiment, but I knew I had to handle this myself. My parents, too, were devastated when I shared the news, heartbroken for me, but also heartbroken that their daughter-in-law, whom they adored, had turned out to be such a viper. Their quiet support was a lifeline in the darkness. Sarah, meanwhile, seemed to be enjoying her newfound freedom in our house. She was on her phone constantly, laughing loudly at things I couldn't see, sometimes even stepping out to take calls in hushed tones. It was infuriating. She was practically flaunting it, rubbing salt into the gaping wound she had inflicted. The contempt she had for me was palpable, a suffocating presence in our home. I kept thinking, how can someone be so utterly devoid of empathy? It was beyond comprehension. The emotional impact was shattering. I felt like I was physically breaking apart, piece by piece. A few weeks passed in this unbearable limbo. Sarah continued her brazen behavior, acting as if I was the problem for not getting over it. One morning, I woke up with a chilling clarity. The profound sadness started to calcify, turning into a cold, hard resolve. The acceptance wasn't about accepting her affair, it was accepting that the woman I loved was gone, replaced by a malicious stranger. And that stranger needed to face consequences. Brutal consequences. I started meticulously planning. I spoke to a lawyer, discreetly gathering information about divorce proceedings, assets, and potential alimony. I didn't want to just leave, I wanted to make sure she regretted every single one of those contemptuous remarks. I spent hours researching, educating myself, turning my pain into a focused, destructive energy. My rage was no longer a wildfire, it was a controlled burn. One evening, Sarah came home late, smelling of expensive cologne and cheap wine. She stumbled in, her hair mussed, lipstick smeared, clearly having been with Mark. She laughed as she tried to kick off her shoes, then stumbled and almost fell. I watched her from the shadows of the living room, my heart a stone. The image of her with another man, the brazen disrespect, the casual destruction of my life, it fueled my resolve. "Rough night?" I asked, my voice calm, almost detached. She jumped, startled. "Oh. Hey. Yeah, just drinks with friends. You know. Letting loose." She tried to smile, but it was wobbly. She reeked of guilt and alcohol. "Why are you always just watching me?" she slurred, trying to sound annoyed, but there was a tremor of unease in her voice. She knew, deep down, that something was shifting. But she had no idea the storm that was brewing. I just smiled, a thin, humorless smile. "Just thinking, Sarah. Just thinking." My plan began to unfold. First, the lawyer advised me to secure my financial standing. I meticulously documented every shared asset, every joint account. I had already set up a new bank account in my name only, transferring a significant portion of my salary there, careful to stay within legal limits for a month or two. I also subtly started gathering evidence of her affair beyond just the laptop. Not because I needed it for divorce, but because I wanted undeniable proof for my own peace of mind, and for the specific brutal revenge I was cooking up. I installed a discreet camera in the living room, focused on the front door, just to capture her comings and goings, especially those late-night returns smelling of Mark. I found a tracking app and, under the guise of checking if her phone was working right, installed it on her new phone when she left it unattended. It sounds creepy, I know, but after what she did, empathy was a foreign concept to me. This was war, and I was arming myself. One afternoon, the tracker showed her at a high-end jewelry store during what she claimed was a lunch meeting with a client. She was in there for over an hour. My blood ran cold. I knew she'd been talking about a special gift Mark had promised her. My heart constricted with a fresh wave of agony and fury. She was not only sleeping with another man, but he was buying her expensive gifts, gifts she'd then lie about, probably telling me she bought them for herself. The humiliation was crushing. That evening, she came home, beaming, wearing a new, delicate diamond necklace. "Look, honey," she said, twirling it. "My boss gave me a huge bonus for that last project, so I treated myself. Isn't it gorgeous?" She expected me to gush, to be proud. I looked at the necklace, the symbol of her betrayal, glinting innocently under the living room lights. "It's beautiful, Sarah," I said, my voice flat, but she was too caught up in her own little bubble of deceit to notice. "You really do deserve nice things." Oh, she would get nice things, all right. Things she never expected. The venom was building inside me, precise and potent. The second phase of my plan involved exposing her to her own circle. Sarah was obsessed with appearances, her reputation, and her social standing. I knew this was her Achilles heel. I collected all the definitive evidence, screenshots of the travel bookings, the emails with Mark's name, pictures from the tracking app that showed her entering and leaving places with him. I blurred his face, I wasn't after him, just her. I compiled it all into a single, devastating PDF document. Her company had a big annual charity gala coming up, a highly publicized event where all the executives, clients, and their spouses would be present. Sarah had been bragging about it for weeks, about the expensive dress she bought, about being on the arm of the most successful man in the company, referring to me, the ultimate irony. This was my chosen battlefield. The night of the gala arrived. We got dressed, put on our fakest smiles. She looked stunning in her expensive gown, the diamond necklace, from Mark, sparkling at her throat. "We're going to make quite the impression tonight, honey," she purred, linking her arm through mine. I just nodded, my heart thudding a cold rhythm against my ribs. I felt like an actor in a play, ready for the final, brutal scene. At the gala, surrounded by hundreds of people, all mingling and laughing, I waited for the opportune moment. Sarah was chatting animatedly with her boss and his wife, basking in the attention. I excused myself, walked over to the event's tech booth, where a large screen was cycling through company achievements and charity photos. I discreetly handed a USB stick to the unsuspecting AV guy. "Could you please add this to the slideshow? It's a last-minute company announcement, very important." He barely glanced at me, busy with other things, and plugged it in. The file was programmed to override the current slideshow and play my compiled PDF on a loop, starting in 5 minutes. My heart hammered. The moment of brutal revenge was finally here. I walked back to Sarah, took her hand, and smiled at her, a genuine smile this time, but one filled with a chilling finality. "Sarah," I said, "I think you're about to make an even bigger impression than you ever imagined." She looked at me, a flicker of confusion in her eyes, probably just thinking I was being weird. Then, the screens flickered. The company logo dissolved, replaced by a glaring red title slide, "Sarah's Secret Life, a Cancun Confession and Other Deceptions." A hush fell over the room, slowly at first, then spreading like wildfire as people turned to the screens. The first image was a screenshot of her Cancun flight itinerary, complete with her name and marks blurred out beside it, followed by the resort booking confirmation. Then came the emails, casual mentions of Mark and their romantic getaway. Next, a series of time-stamped photos from the tracking app, Sarah and Mark entering a restaurant, leaving a bar, her entering the jewelry store alone, then later that day, her wearing the new diamond necklace, followed by a close-up of the necklace itself, accompanied by a caption I added, "A gift from Mark," proudly displayed as a bonus from work. The entire room went silent. You could literally hear a pin drop. Sarah's face went from pale to ashen. Her eyes widened in horror as she saw the screens, her jaw dropping. Her boss, standing next to her, slowly turned, his face a mask of disbelief and disgust. The murmurs began, whispers, gasps, finger-pointing. The beautiful facade she had built, her precious reputation, was crumbling before her very eyes, in front of everyone who mattered to her. She whipped her head towards me, her eyes blazing with a mixture of terror and pure, unadulterated hatred. You bastard!" She hissed, her voice barely audible, but her fury was palpable. I just watched her, a calm, cold satisfaction spreading through me. The brutal revenge was playing out exactly as I envisioned. This was for every lie, every sneer, every ounce of pain she inflicted. This was for the comfort she felt with me, the stifling life she claimed I gave her. This was the reckoning. The chaos that erupted after that was incredible. People were staring, whispering, some openly pointing. Sarah's boss looked absolutely livid, and her colleagues were exchanging shocked glances. Sarah herself looked like she'd been struck by lightning. Her face was contorted, her expensive gown seemed to wilt around her. She tried to grab my arm, but I subtly pulled away. "How could you?" she shrieked, no longer caring who hurt her. Her voice was raw, laced with a desperation I'd never heard before. "You ruined everything. My career, my reputation." The irony was not lost on me. She had ruined my life, my trust, my heart, and now she was concerned about her career. "You ruined it yourself, Sarah," I said, my voice calm, cutting through her hysteria. "I just helped you show everyone the truth you worked so hard to hide." She lunged at me then, trying to claw at my face, but I was ready. I gently, but firmly, pushed her away. Her boss stepped in, grabbing her arm. "Sarah, what is the meaning of this?" he demanded, his voice low and furious. "We'll be having a serious discussion about this on Monday." He looked at me, a silent apology in his eyes, but also a profound disappointment. I didn't stick around for the aftermath. My work was done. I turned and walked out of the gala, leaving Sarah to face the music she so carelessly orchestrated. As I left, I could hear her screams, her desperate pleas, but they faded into the background. A strange lightness filled me, a sense of release. The brutal revenge was complete. The initial shock and anger had solidified into a cold, calculated plan, and now, a grim satisfaction. It wasn't the kind of joy I expected, but it was a powerful sense of justice served. The acceptance I'd found wasn't just about her betrayal, it was about accepting that I deserved better, and that I had the strength to reclaim my dignity. The days following the gala were surprisingly quiet on my end. Sarah called incessantly, leaving furious, tearful voicemails alternating between threats and desperate pleas. I blocked her number. Her friends, some of whom were mutual, tried to reach out, confused and asking for explanations. I simply told them, the screens at the gala spoke for themselves. Ask Sarah. I knew she wouldn't be able to spin her way out of this one, not with hundreds of witnesses. My lawyer immediately filed for divorce, serving her the papers the very next day. I stipulated zero alimony, citing her multiple affairs and the emotional distress she caused. With the public exposure, her standing at work was severely compromised. I heard through the grapevine that she was immediately put on leave, pending an internal investigation. Her pristine image was shattered. I started packing her belongings into boxes, meticulously, emotionlessly. Each item I touched, each dress, each piece of jewelry, especially the Mark-gifted necklace, which I made sure to pack separately and label, felt like a step towards reclaiming my life. The house, once filled with her presence, began to feel lighter, cleaner. The suffocating weight of her deceit was lifting. The grief for the life I lost was still there, a dull ache, but it was overshadowed by a burgeoning sense of freedom and empowerment. I realized I wasn't just a victim, I was a survivor. I had been brutally betrayed, but I had fought back, not with violence, but with truth and precision. The quiet satisfaction of seeing her carefully constructed world implode was immense. It wasn't about being petty, it was about protecting myself and asserting my worth after being treated like garbage. My decision was made, no reconciliation, no second chances. Just a clean, decisive cut. This brutal revenge wasn't just about her, it was about me finally setting myself free. It's been a few months since the gala. The divorce is moving forward, slow and bureaucratic, but it's happening. Sarah is practically a pariah in our old social circles. Her job, as expected, didn't survive the scandal. She ended up having to move out of the house, and I'm pretty sure she's living with some distant relatives, no longer with Mark, who apparently wasn't interested in being tied to a publicly disgraced woman. Guess he really was just in it for the fun and gifts. Poetic justice, really. I'm still healing, don't get me wrong. The pain of the betrayal runs deep, and there are days when the memories resurface, sharp and agonizing. But they are fewer now. I've started therapy, which has been incredibly helpful in processing everything. I'm learning to trust myself again, to rebuild my self-esteem that she so effectively dismantled. I've reconnected with old friends, started new hobbies, and rediscovered parts of myself I'd neglected while trying to make us work. The house feels like my home again. It's no longer tainted by her lies. It's a sanctuary. I'm not actively dating, not yet. I need more time to truly heal, to understand what I want in a partner, and to make sure I don't carry this baggage into a new relationship. What have I learned? First, trust your gut. Those subtle signs, the shifts in behavior, the secrecy, they're not always paranoia. Sometimes, they're red flags waving violently. Second, never let anyone, no matter how much you love them, diminish your worth. And third, when someone shows you who they truly are, believe them. Don't make excuses for their cruelty or rationalize their lies. My advice to anyone in a similar situation is this: don't let them gaslight you. Don't let them make you feel crazy for seeing the truth. Gather your evidence, seek legal counsel, and protect yourself. And when you're ready, whether it's through quiet separation or, in my case, a more public exposition, reclaim your dignity. Your brutal revenge doesn't have to be loud, but it does have to be definitive. It has to be about you taking back your life. You deserve better than a lie. You deserve peace.